Okay, welcome everybody. At this time, we will open the special planning and zoning meeting for Wednesday, August 26, 2020. Mr. Chin, if you would provide us a flag. Excellent. And we join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Okay, so we do the roll call. So I will say, Mr. Corey, are you here?
Yes, and I just wanted to, oh, Larry's coming in now. Okay, I'm here.
Okay, you're there. Mr. Prush?
Here.
Mr. LeConte, have you joined? You on? He's muted.
If I can find out how to get out of it.
There you are. You're on, Larry. We hear you. So
Okay, I'm here then.
you're here. We're live and it's on television. So you just chill out for a second. I'm here, and on our side we have Mr. Silbert.
Here, present.
And then we have Mr. Cinto, I don't think joined us yet, right? No, and then Mr. D'Aquila.
Here it is. Okay, there we go.
Mr. D'Aquila, can you hear us?
Can you unmute him if he can't unmute himself, Bill? I think it's *6, Tony, if I'm not mistaken.
He can unmute himself at the bottom of the screen. We can't unmute. All I can do is ask him to unmute. So there should be
I think he's on a telephone. I don't know that he's on.
No, I'm
a
on telephone.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Tony. Okay, so we have the roll call done. I have a few announcements to make, and Attorney Cordone would like to address the public, so we will hand it over to Mr. Cordone quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, I'm James Cordone, one of the town attorneys. This is the August 26th special meeting of the Trumbull Planning and Zoning Commission. The meeting is being conducted pursuant to the governor's executive orders 7B and 7I by video conference and or teleconference over the internet and the telephone. All materials for all applications were posted on the town website 24 hours in advance of the meeting. And I would ask all commissioners and participants to remember to please identify yourself before speaking. This is for the benefit of those who might just be listening by telephone. And I would ask the chairman to make sure that all votes are by roll call. And I'd advise the public that this meeting is being recorded. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cordone. Okay, so at this time, we're going to go through the administrative adjustments to the agenda for this evening. For those people at home who are listening in or watching, we have agenda item number 3, 7120 Main Street, the applicant Amazon.com, file 2007, has asked to be continued and will not be heard tonight. So at this time, I will take a motion to continue that application.
I make a
Mr.
motion to continue.
Mr. LeConte. Mr. Corey, you get a second? Is that what that hand was for? Mr. Corey, second. All those in favor of continuing the application to the next regular meeting? Aye.
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 Okay. And the next thing is on the bonds. On the, excuse me, the 824 referrals. The 824 referrals, number 2, the municipal improvements referral, report to the town council regarding a purchase by the town of a parcel or parcels of land known as 16, 19, 26, 29, and 38 Hardy Lane in Trumbull has been withdrawn. We don't need to vote. It has been withdrawn by the applicant, who is the town. Okay, so those are the 2 adjustments to tonight's agenda. If anybody was listening in for either of these 2, and if there's any other administrative business, please let me know now. Otherwise, we are going to begin with our first application. Staff, anything before we begin? No? Okay. So I will call the first applicant, 123 Monroe Turnpike. Applicant Extra Flower LLC is requesting a special permit to occupy 1,250 square feet of space in an industrial zone to operate a restaurant pursuant to Article 2, Section 4.2, and Article 15 of the Town of Trumbull zoning and regulations, file number 2005. So at this time, I would ask the applicant to introduce themselves with their address, and that's it, because then we're going to go to staff for their report first.
Nick Montanero. The address you're looking for, Fred, is it for where I'm going to or where I'm coming from?
Where you live personally.
Where I live, 989 Lakeside Drive, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll take the staff report and then we will go back to the applicant for presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as stated in the agenda, this is a special permit site plan modification to allow restaurant use, and including that site plan modification is the walk-in cooler and the patio on the site. We did a review of the site plan. It is similar to the one that was approved a few years ago through this commission. The special use, this is the zone, this is the industrial zone, and as such, a restaurant use is allowed through a special permit process. They did get approvals from the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Inland Wetlands Commission to allow for their setback regulations. The restaurant use is required at 9 spaces, which they have, including all the other uses that are on the site right now. They have already been approved, I think, last year for the signage that's on the site. Some of the questions that we have for the applicant is the number of employees, the hours of operation. We'd like to see the patio on the plan showing that there are bollards or some type of safety precautions around there, around the patio, and just a question if there's going to be liquor, beer, wine for the restaurant use, which is going to be another special permit, which is going to be required. If this restaurant is placed here, it would probably be the only restaurant within that area in the industrial zone, for inside for takeout and for seated. So it's definitely a need in the area. I did speak to my supervisor, economic development director, and that is something that is highly needed in industrial areas. Rather than going and driving far away, we need something closer by for them to support local businesses. Other than that, staff supports this application.
Okay, so nothing from engineering specifically, so, right, and we can go right to the applicant to make your presentation.
Chairman?
Yeah.
Fred?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to recuse myself on this.
okay, so let me ask a question, because this is the first time, seeing as we have 2 attorneys on my screen now, this is the first time there's a recusal on a Zoom meeting that I have had to deal with. We are prepared for this evening. There's a recusal later in the evening, the last item on the agenda, where 2 commissioners are going to have to recuse themselves, Mr. LeConte and myself, and that was easy. We're going to go away. Now, how do we do this with Zoom? Does he just not participate? I need a legal opinion. Does he just not participate and he's muted? Or does he actually have to log out? Because in the old world, you would have to leave the room. So how are we going to do that with the recusal on a Zoom meeting? Mr. Cordone?
Mr. LeConte, I'd ask you to just, if you have the way to stop your video, you could do that, or you could just sign off and we'll give you a call to let you sign back on. Can you see how to stop your video there?
Yeah, I can stop the video. That's not a problem.
Yeah,
That'd be
so
perfect.
if
Just
you stop the,
There you
Jim,
go.
can I ask this? If he stops the video and he mutes,
That's
he has
fine.
he has to mute because we don't want the feedback. So we don't want to hear anything from him.
Correct, Mr. LeConte.
Can't have any noise or sound. There you go.
I think that's
Okay.
sufficient. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that input. Sorry about that. Mr. Montanero, sorry for the interruption, but we live in a different world now, so please continue.
So I haven't really prepared anything formally. I didn't know I thought I'd be just asked questions, but I am currently at 6528 Main Street for my restaurant, which is Mex on Main. I am requesting permission to move to the 123 Monroe Turnpike, which is a very close move for me, just beneficial in a few reasons. I have a partner who works across the street, a little closer for him. My lease is up in January 1st for my existing property, and rents have gone through the roof since I've been there. So we're looking to make the move here. We think it's a good move for us. We think it's a good move for the town. Like I said, there's a lot of nice businesses with all the corporate area there, and we thought it'd be a good spot for us to go.
Okay. So at this time, I would ask the commissioners for any input and questions. Mr. Corey, do you mind starting? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just don't, this is at Connect's Garage, is that right?
No,
123 Monroe Turnpike?
it's Dr. Fergalesky's new building. It's the
Oh.
brand new property past the Shell station on the same side as Connect's.
Okay, because I was
Yeah.
looking at my map.
Now,
Oh, I
remember
see.
last year we went to that grand opening that was in the back underneath for that new building? This is that
Yeah, it's
same
just the
building.
one-
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
that same building, but up in the front, right, Nick?
Yeah, I'd be the top right corner of the building.
Okay, yeah, it was just when I typed in 123 Monroe Turnpike, it put it right over Connect's Garage, so it's the building. Okay, so that's the new building that, it's like a doctor's office in the back, and you had plans for putting a restaurant in there? They
Yeah,
talked about that at
Mathnasium
the
is up
beginning?
top.
Yep.
Pardon?
Mathnasium is up top right now. It's the only business that's in there on the far left end of the building, and we're proposing to go to the far right of the building.
Okay, so it's an existing building, you're just gonna occupy one of the,
One
One
of
of
the
the- okay, and I assume you meet all the parking requirements for a restaurant? There's plenty of parking?
Yep.
No, I don't have any questions.
Great. Okay, I'm just going to go in order of pictures on the screen. So, Mr. Prush.
The only I think I heard a question before about where the outdoor dining was or would be. I don't know. I take it it's in this area to the right of the building. If you're facing it from the street, I see some little stones drawn in. Maybe that's a patio, but just
Yeah, that
so
is
everybody knows.
that is it from the front right corner of the building. It will be 12 feet off of the building, so 12 feet going off to the right, and it's about 20 feet in depth going towards the back of the building.
Okay, I have,
Similar,
let's-
about a similar, yeah, about similar size to what you have now. In fact, sounds like it's, yeah,
Yeah, right now I'm about 9 by 20. This will be 12 by 20.
okay.
so
good.
I have, Dave, that's a great question. I have a question for staff and Mr. Montanaro.
Yeah.
Is this a permanent patio according to our regulations? Or is this a patio outside dining that's allowed with the governor's executive order because of the pandemic?
No, this would be permanent, like I have.
I want not, Nick, I want the staff to tell me about the measurements and how it meets our regs.
Okay, gotcha.
I know you want it forever. That's a lock.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is allowed, the amount of square footage. It was calculated in our
Right.
parking requirements. It is on the site plan, so it's stated as permanent patio space.
Right, okay, yeah, because we're still living in those times that a restaurant could come in and offer as part of their plan a non-conforming that conforms to the governor's emergency order that we would really have no oversight over actually at this point. So
Okay.
other than safety, like every town does. Okay, so it's good. All right, Mr. Prush, are you good?
No, I'm good. Yep.
Okay, let's continue to go along. Mr. Silber?
The only question I have is what, just out of curiosity for Rob Lobrandi, what are the setbacks that the building will have? Or the restaurant will have? I know it's a building on the existing footprint.
Yeah,
Is-
they're going to be, the building is existing and there's going to be no expansion. The only expansion is going to be the walk-in cooler. And that walk-in cooler meets the setback requirements for the side. There was a variance of 18 feet. The walk-in cooler is around 40 plus feet from the side yard.
Okay. Got it.
Good.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Mr. DeQuilla, any questions?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. That's it. So I'll just say thank you for being in town. Thank you for staying in town. And as Mr. Labrandy stated, a lot of the meetings that we've had and a lot of the folks that came in and give us presentations and everything we read that Mr. Labrandy sends us that's going on in the world, and we've already been doing in Trumbull, which is hard, fast zones are strangling small towns. So you have to be flexible and you have to really have mixed use almost everywhere, as long as it's palatable and it works for the zone and it works for the town, it works for the traffic. I do believe that this meets it. I do believe that you are going to an existing building where the traffic is fine. The parking will be more than enough because they can grow around the building, and you're keeping a restaurant and a business in Trumbull. You meet the regulations. But one of the conditions I am going to put on here is that the patio and the ballards final blessing is going to be approved by staff. You're going to have to present them exactly what barriers there are, and they will have the authority to modify just like as if it was landscaping. Okay. So you're going to have to answer their questions. And if, you pick 12-foot poles and they say they have to be 3-foot planters, that's what you're going to have to do. That's just as an example. So whatever staff decides your safety boundaries are for the patio, I mean, you can take your presentation and give it to them. And I'm thinking maybe it'll work, but you guys work it out together, but staff will have the final say with our authority passing on this application, okay?
Yep.
You're okay with that, Mr. Montanaro?
That's fine.
And, excuse me, one of the questions that was brought up was how many employees do you think you're going to have approximately?
I have a total of 11.
On any shift, on any one shift?
Any given shift, 4 is the maximum.
4, okay, so that's the number they're really looking for.
Yep.
Okay, and the hours of operation are really just for information. We really don't like regulating hours of operation for the most part. And I always use the example of the gyms in town. We have some gyms that are basically 24 hours. And when the mall gym came in, there was issues of possibly restricting their hours. And I made the discussion point that we have to have free enterprise here and we have to allow an equal playing field. So it's really up to the business themselves with the hours that fit their business schedule and you're meeting your customers' needs. So what is your intention? Not for regulation.
Okay, keep existing hours is what we're hoping to do, 11 to 9 every day. We do 11.
Okay.
We open it for business at 11, close at 9. We generally get there about an hour early. We usually get there about 10 o'clock.
So the people that were looking for a place to buy a cup of coffee in Trumbull after 9 o'clock are still out of luck. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. So,
That should be open soon.
huh? Yeah.
That should be open soon.
Okay, that's good. So commissioners, any other questions before we go to the public? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Chin, do we have any hands raised? At this time, we'll take any questions from the public on this particular application only.
So if any member of the public would like to speak, there's a button at the bottom to raise your hand. If you're on a phone, which doesn't appear that there are any, it's *9 on your phone to raise your hand if you wish to speak.
How many public do we have, Mr. Chin?
There's currently 6,
Okay.
and it doesn't look like anybody wishes to speak at this point.
Okay, so hearing no questions from the public, we've asked twice if there's any more questions from the commissioners or staff. Hearing none, I'll take a motion to close the application.
So moved.
So move, Mr. Corey. Okay, second, Mr. Prush.
I'll
Yeah.
second.
Okay, all right, I'll take a motion to approve. Is anybody gonna make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Corey, a second.
I'll second.
You'll second. Okay, seconded by Mr. Prush. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor by roll call vote. Mr. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Prush,
Yes.
Mr. Silber. Mr. Silber, your vote? Can you hear me, Tony?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. DeQuilla, your vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And my vote is yes as well. That's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Montanaro, and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so on to the next agenda item, which is number 2, 1056 Daniels Farm Road. Applicant Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocesan Corporation is requesting a special permit to construct a 7,500 square foot addition to the existing mausoleum pursuant to Article 2, Section 1.2, and Article 15 of the Town of Trumbull zoning regulations, file 2006. At this time, the applicant can introduce themselves, name and address, and then we are going to go to staff for a report.
Hey, Chris, can you come here?
We can hear you, Mr.
Hear
Rizzio.
me? Sorry, I just have to get rid. Hey, Chris, can you move this? Get rid of this thing for me. Sorry, I am. No, I need to move this on thing so I can see. Sorry, folks. It's Raymond Rizzio for the record. I'm happy to be before you tonight, representing Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocese, Gates of Heaven Cemetery, with regard to a expansion of an existing approval. If you can recall, back in March, we were before you of 2019.
Hey, hold on, Mr. Rizzio, hold on. Just state your address, and then we're going to go to staff, and then we're going to go back to you. We're going to do staff report. Just your address for the
Rizzio,
record.
RIZIO, One Post Road, Fairfield, Connecticut, and I'm the attorney representing the Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocese.
Thank you very much, sir. At this time, Mr. Lebrandi, would you present your report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the agenda stated, this is a special permit site plan modification to allow a 7,500 square foot addition to the mausoleum. As Attorney Rizzio just said, last March, the diocese came in front of the commission for around a 3,328 square foot addition to the mausoleum. So they're requesting an expansion of that proposed space. This is a special permit application, and cemeteries are a special permit requirement in the AA zone. The bulk requirements have to be less than 100 feet from the property line, which they are. The question is, would there be any signage that would be required to go in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission? We do have some comments for the applicant. Will any new lighting or signage be placed on the building? Will the addition be visible from the street in any way? If so, what buffering will be installed? How does the commission feel about the architectural design of the structure? Will any fill be brought in or taken out? Will it be slab on grade? And the proposed site shows, I believe, 4 parking spaces on plan S1. The 7,000 square foot building, maybe they could just explain to us that, 4 spaces is enough. I know that people park along the driveway, but maybe 4 spaces should be up for discussion. The current mausoleum, if you look on your staff report, I did show a GIS map showing that it is 500 plus feet away from the road. There is an existing tree line of buffering, where it's very hard to see the mausoleum in the back right now. And I believe that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rizzio.
Chairman, happy to be before you tonight, representing the Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocese with regard to the expansion of the Gates of Heaven Mausoleum. This commission granted us an approval back in March of 2019 for a 3,328 square foot addition. That addition would have housed 490 caskets, 348 niches. It had no courtyard, and it was a very horizontal expansion that looked very much like a addition. What we've done is we've come in with an application. It was going to be part of a 10-year plan. I think I explained at that time is that they planned over years to grow the mausoleum toward the maintenance building which if you're facing the front of the mausoleum, so if you're facing the mausoleum from its entrance, looking out towards Daniels Farm Road, if you look to the right of the mausoleum, there is a maintenance building. And the idea would be that the mausoleum was to grow in that direction. The world's changed a lot in the last year. While the planning was going on, we have COVID has hit. The diocese decided they would rather do a one-year plan. The demand for mausoleum spaces has increased exponentially. Not only the number of deaths or people that have need for it immediately, but people's focus is on providing or finding a place for themselves down the road. So rather than do it in a piecemeal fashion, where it would look like an addition to an existing mausoleum, they very much come up with a balanced, very well designed, in effect, looking like a cross with 4 separate sections. And also, even though we're going from 33,328 square feet, 400 to 7,500 square feet, 450 square feet is included an open courtyard in the middle of the mausoleum. If you look at the mausoleum, it has skylights, it has seating areas. It's a little higher. The one that was proposed was 16 feet, 10 inches. This one is 19 feet, 6 inches. The grade at Daniels Farm Road is 505 feet. The grade of the first floor, or the only floor of the mausoleum, it's a 1-floor addition, will be 483 feet. So basically, this almost all exists above grade. If you go down Daniels Farm Road now, what you see is part of the mausoleum. Remember, there's also a stone wall that sits behind it. What you see is the peak of the existing mausoleum, and that will still be 4 to 5 feet higher than what our proposed addition is. Our proposed addition will have a flat roof. It will also have a porte cochere, which is important. We feel that people will be able to drive if it's raining and they want to go inside and see a loved one, the remains of a loved one. They will be able to pull up, let somebody off. We have very much of an older, I'll say, clientele that tends to come to the cemeteries. With regard to the parking requirement, we have no issues with parking with the current mausoleum. I've been there numerous times myself, and for the most part, usually I'm the only person in there that I've been in there either to visit, to see someone, or members of my family coming in a car. If you get 20 visitors in a day throughout an entire day, it would probably be a lot. Most people tend to come as a family in a car. And then there's parking, as you can see. If you've been to Gates of Heaven, you have any loved one that's buried there, there's plenty of parking along the roadways within, and we never have an issue with regard to traffic, certainly on site. The new mausoleum will have 440 crypts, which will be able to house 696 caskets. There'll be 492 niches. If you know what the niches are, it's where people have been cremated and they can put the remains. Once again, it will have an interior courtyard, kind of a very restful, peaceful place for people to sit. And as I said, it'll be about 19 feet high and shaped like a cross, but with flat. I don't know if Rob can put the plans up, I can take you through the architecture there. All right, Chris, if you can put up the floor plans would be best, and then we could go through the elevations. They'll be connected, the two buildings will be connected by a vestibule, but there will also be a separate entrance for the new mausoleum. So if you look at that, at the new mausoleum, you'll see there's a porte cochere which you'll be able to enter. Then there will be sections of which people will have not only benches or seating areas. They will be able to, it will be very much of an open, there's skylights, as you can see above each section. So it'll be an open, airy feeling, and it'll give people the ability to, in effect, not be crowded by each other, and give it an expansive feel to this situation. And then, like I said, have a courtyard garden in the middle. We have no issues with regard to setbacks. We're way over 500 feet from the street. And if you look to the rear of the building, so it would be the top of the picture, there's a retaining wall that gets built, it gets pushed back. So in effect, there's probably between the grade and the base of the first floor, there's probably 7-foot grade difference just on site. So the base floor elevation is 483. The outside elevation at the rear of the building would be 490 feet. And then if you go up to Daniels Farm Road, it's 505 feet. As you can see, it's very tastefully done. There's no signage. You can certainly put a condition. We won't have any neon signs or anything like that. It'll look like an addition. It's very tastefully done. There is no need to attract people to this from the street. People will know where they have to go. They're buried at Gates of Heaven Cemetery. And other than some directional signs, I don't anticipate any other signage. There'll obviously be some lighting. I think it'll all be downward driven light. I don't know if I see a lighting plan on there, but just for safety, there's no, the mausoleum will not be lit so that it could be seen from the street or from any adjoining properties. And that's basically, it's the same thing we went through when the commission looked at this in March. We spent an extensive time on an addition, which I thought was nice, was a nice addition, but what the diocese has done and what their planners have done is really put together a very nice, tasteful building that has an airy feel, an outdoor area. And in this issue, they believe that they will have enough capacity that will last at least 10 years. We're consistent with your regulations. We're consistent with your special permit. Frankly, this is a very modest addition when you consider this property sits on 50 acres. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
So thank you for that. The 10,000 foot is, you're already approved for a smaller straight addition, and you're now coming back for a slightly larger complete remodel that has a little bit more of addition.
Correct.
Right, and that took me 14 seconds. How's that? That good, Mr. Rizzio?
Chair, co-counsel, I think that was an excellent presentation.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And I appreciate that you're here, and I appreciate that you're doing this. And unfortunately, in today's world, the growth of cemeteries and provisions for folks in the afterlife are a necessity. So at this time, I'd ask you to do me a favor. Can you stop sharing your screen for a second? Thank you, because it makes it easier for me to see all the commissioners. And I want to go to staff. If we need to, we'll ask you to put it back up if they have a specific question. So at this time, I'm going to go around the same way I did before. So Mr. Khoury, any questions that you have for the applicant?
Is there going to be any landscaping of it, of the building?
Yeah, you'll see around the, there's a landscaping, Chris, if we can go back to the site plan, you'll see trees and landscaping around the front. You can see, if you see it in the shaded areas. Let's go back. Okay, you'll have to go to the floor plan, Chris. It's evident on the floor plan. There you go. I don't know if I can necessarily see it on that one as well. There's outdoor benches, there's concrete pavers in some walkway areas, and then there's trees surrounding the frontage of the building. There's planted some trees that are planted. It would be, if you look at, Commissioner Khoury, if you look at sheet A101, you'll see the, you'll be able to see there's plantings there.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I don't know if they're coming up as well on the screen, but I'm looking at them, and I will tell you, at every, along the front walls, along the side walls, and along every corners, there's a planting plan that's been set out.
Yeah, I was wondering, is there this is a new building that's gonna go in, and is there a possibility that we could spot small, like, fruit, I call them fruit trees because they're small flowering trees in front of it, so it's sort of.
The trees, there are trees. I don't know why there, I mean, there are trees all along the front, toward the front of the building, not in front of the front door, but there's a planting beds, on each wing of the front of the building.
Mr. Rizzio, Mr.
thinking more
Rizzio,
of-
Mr. Corey, Mr. Rizzio, would the applicant be amicable to a condition of working with staff to add a few flowering trees in certain spots as a condition?
Yes.
Just in front of the building to kind of break up the.
Okay. Mr. Corey,
Sure.
if you would talk with Rob after the meeting, if you have a specific tree, or I know Rob can diligently find some light, bright colored flowering trees that we can add a couple on one side and the other to bring
Yeah,
it
just
to-
thinking, looking at it from the road, if there was a couple of spotted fruit trees, flowering trees in front of the building, it may,
Yeah.
fit in better.
When you say Commissioner Corey, when you say from the road, do you mean from Daniels Farm Road or from the interior driveway?
Yeah, I
No,
think he
just,
means
just when you
Dana's
drive
Farm.
by, you can see a little of it. And I
I
just
think
was,
the interior.
okay, I'll talk to Rob if that's, if.
Yeah,
if he
so
doesn't think it's
just so we're
appropriate.
clear in the requirement that we'll put on here. Mr. Corey is referring to the aesthetics on the drive-by of Daniel's Farm, so we would make the request to add some trees to the back. And at the same time, it's going to be add some to the front, so there's a balance,
No problem. Keep in mind, as I was explaining, if you add, we're at 483 feet, and if you add 19 feet, 6 inches, we're basically at 502 or 503 feet. The grade of Daniels Farm Road is 505 feet. So, but we're happy to put a few trees in. There's no issue with that at all. We're happy to work with the tree warden and
Great.
staff in doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's the only comment I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Prush.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Mr. D'Aquila.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have a concern about parking. And the parking I'm referring to is when funerals come from the funeral parlor to the cemetery with the body. And I was told that, well, there's 4 spots and you can park on either side of the streets. Unfortunately, those streets are very narrow. You can park, if cars are parked on both sides of the street, there's only one lane left that a car can go through. And what happens is, because there's no directional requirements on these streets, you get people going in both directions, and now we have a real problem. My request to the applicant is to include directions to prevent any type of issues with traffic flow.
So you'd like some directional arrows placed in places?
Yes,
Great, that's a good idea. Anything else?
that's it.
Great, thank you. Mr. Silber.
Yeah, Attorney Rizzio, I wanted to know what's the size of the current mausoleum there?
I would guess about 10, I think it's about 10,000 square feet. That's an estimate in my looking at the plan and walking through it. I don't have, let me see if I have the existing plan. I want to say it's probably close to 7,500 to 10,000 square feet, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I ask because on the drawings that you folks submitted, it looks like the addition is bigger than the original. So just sort of curious about that. But if it's basically,
I don't have the exact numbers, but I want to say 7,500 to 10,000 square feet is what I think I remember.
so we're doubling it.
Oh, yeah, Tony, if I remember back the original application, it was pretty close to doubling it because they know they needed to grow and they weren't going to try and do it 2 or 3 times. They were just getting ahead of the demand for,
Right.
the afterlife care. It kind of makes sense. If you're filled up, are you doing the next 50-year plan or the next 5 or 10-year plan.
Yep, I understand. And then the other question I had was, and this might be for Rob, because I'm not sure what the expiration is on application or on approved projects, but there was the seminary from like 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say. And so my understanding is the diocese isn't going to do that, but is that approval still in place?
I believe it was for a special permit, so I think special permits, you have a timeout if you haven't started construction.
Right. Now, have we passed that?
Yeah, that
was
passed.
before I was here, so I think you have 2 years and they haven't done anything. So,
Yeah, I think the seminary's probably 3 or 4 years ago.
yeah.
But that passed. That's done.
No, my question is, but they don't want it. So the question is, are we going to have a mausoleum that doubles in size plus a seminary? It sounds like we're not, but if there's an approval in place that allows that to happen, I just would want to know.
There's no intention to expand the bishop's residence currently. And because it's the bishop's residence, any alternate use would have to come before you. So there is no plans to have the seminary. It was 2015 that it was approved, so I believe that permit has expired. And I just found out, we just looked up, and I think the existing mausoleum is 9,000 square feet. So this is 1,500 feet smaller, and 500 of that square feet is interior courtyard. All make sense?
It does. Thank you, sir. And so, Rob, so as I understand it, if you wanted to proceed with an expansion of the bishop's residence or a seminary, you would have to come back to us?
Everything with regard to seminary, to a non-single family use is basically a special permit use. Any expansion, change of site plan would need to come back before you. Correct, Rob?
Correct.
So other than in this zone, other than a single family that abides by all the setbacks, that's about one of the only uses that can come in and get an over-the-counter permit.
Thank you, Attorney Rizzio. Thank you, Rob.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. LeConte.
Yeah, I don't know about how we're gonna try to take care of the traffic in there, because most of the funerals I've been to, because the roads are narrow, they usually follow a hearse, and you go down and you double park in the street, and whether you have 10, 20, or 30, or 40, or 50 cars, you're there for an hour, hour and a half, and you're going. So I wouldn't want to interfere with that, with what has been going on for the last 40 years.
Right.
In all the cemeteries, not only.
When you say in the
Catholic
street,
cemeteries.
you don't mean on Daniels Farm Road, right?
No. It means a cemetery road. The only thing
Cemetery road, right, correct.
you bring up a good point, and to Commissioner D'Aquila's point of having some directional arrows to help people that aren't familiar, it's probably not a bad idea. But to your point, it is exactly correct. Every cemetery that we all in this area have been to do not have legal double width roads for the point of the atmosphere for the afterlife, that you're in a park. You're not in an industrial park. And every funeral in all cemeteries all come in, stop the road. That's why they plan their funerals. You can only have so many at so many times. That's the business they're in. They don't overlap the funerals because they know that roadage, that road will be shut down for that period of time, and everybody leaves at the same time. So, if they put an arrow enter this way and go that way, I don't think it would be a bad thing if everybody went in the same way. So I get to Commissioner D'Aquila's point, but you are exactly correct, Mr. LeConte, in the fact that we are not looking to redesign the roadways. We are not looking to redesign the traffic. There is no solution to family members and friends coming to say goodbye all at the same time. You cannot plan for that. And it's the business that they're in, and we understand it. So thank you for that comment.
And the good news, Chairman, is that this is your regulations require a setback of like 400 feet. So I mean, this is not a chance that even if you have a little bit of a backup, that anything ever pours out onto Daniels Farm Road. I mean, people come in and
it didn't come up, so we don't have to defend it. We're good. Okay, so is there any other questions, Mr. Marr?
Yes, two questions. On sheet A101, are you putting an additional addition to the existing mausoleum? in the front where it says administration, meeting room.
That would be, if that would be something interior. There's no, all the addition, that's within the building.
That's within the building. So that's a renovation.
Correct.
Okay. The other thing is that I have is you are showing drainage improvements. I just need you to show me in a report that you comply with our drainage regulation.
We have no problem making that a condition of approval. Mr. Bjorklund has worked on doing the engineering for the site and will provide you with a report and satisfy your requirements. So we'd be happy to accept that as a condition of approval.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from commissioners before we go to the public? Hearing none. At this time, is there any members from the public who wish to speak? Has anyone raised their hand? Mr. Chin?
It does not, oh, we just have one. CH, I'll promote them to panels.
Excuse me?
CH, they're coming in here.
Okay. Okay, CH, please state your name and address for the record and your comment.
My name is Craig Hunter, CRAIGHUNTER.
Okay,
1075 Daniels Farm Road.
thank you.
So I'm right across the street from the diocese property. And I actually overlook the existing mausoleum. So I see it out the front door every day. And I'm in favor of them being able to expand. The one thing that I would encourage the board to do is to be, sort of judicious on making sure that there is screening, because you actually can see the existing building quite well from the road. I mean, I literally look at it. I'm looking at it right now as I talk to you. So whatever happens with the new addition and also with the existing building, additional screening, even with evergreens, I think would be fantastic, just to make it look more, presentable from the road. Also, one question that I couldn't pick up from watching is the height of the new building taller than the existing structure?
It will be, no, not as high as the peak. It's about 4 to 5 feet below the peak of the existing structure. So this is a flat roofed structure. The existing building is peaked.
Yeah.
And so from the street, the addition will look the same height as the existing building.
It'll be about 2.5 feet higher than the flat roof portion of the existing mausoleum.
Okay, gotcha.
Great.
Okay, those are my only questions and concerns, so thank you.
Thank you very much. So, just while we continue, we got a little leeway there. Any other comments from the public are really comments from the public. We have to keep them bordered as comments from the public rather than a questioning and answering of the applicant. That's not what it's for. You can ask a question and continue on, and we will try and get them answered when we're done. But it's not a question and answer period from the public for the applicant.
I apologize, Chairman.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Are any other folks raising their hand, Mr. Chin?
There does not appear to be anybody else wishing to speak at this time.
Okay. At this time, if there are no other comments from the public, any other commissioners have any other questions at this time?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Quilla speaking.
Yes.
Now that we had a comment from the public with regard to landscaping, I don't see a landscape drawing up in this package. Can we have one, please?
The landscaping is there. The applicant said the 4 or 5 trees that they have in the front and the back are on the plan. And one of the things that we're going to do, I don't know if you heard, is we are going to give the authority in this motion to Rob LaBrande, the town planner, to work with the applicant to choose some trees for the front and the rear. The fact that, somebody's asking for screening, I understand, but that's not part of it. That's not part of what the process is right now, but we are going down the middle of that road, and the town planner will work to add some colorful trees, which will add some buffering as well. But buffering to hide the building is not on the agenda, and it's not something that we're going to move towards.
Can I just interject there? Why? I mean, I'm not sure I understand the logic there. If we as a commission want buffering, it's not off the, who put it off the table? I didn't put it off.
I didn't say it's off the table. I said it wasn't on the table. But part of what the attraction is in the cemetery and people choosing that is the aesthetics that they see when they drive by and they see their family members and they see that. It's a totally different discussion hiding the mausoleum that they're probably investing heavily in to portray what their image of that cemetery is going to be. So at the 11th hour, someone saying, please plant trees to hide what you just spent millions to build and design, I don't think is something that we would do in the last minute of an application. That's what I meant, Mr. Silver. Does that sound better?
Well, sure. No, you're very articulate, but I mean, when did it become the 11th hour? I mean, this is why we have these meetings, is to talk about this stuff. So
when I say the 11th hour,
I don't think anybody's saying to hide the mausoleum. We're just saying to, Commissioner Corey brought it up in the beginning.
Right.
It's just a question of, should there be some plantings around it? Can we do that?
I totally agree with them. And if you said, Mr. Corey is going to give his input to the planner, and the planner is going to give his input to the applicant who has to follow that input. So we absolutely accepted that at the beginning. And I also said right now that we would work with that. So if you have any other additions that you would like to add to the flowering trees, please feel free. But to your question of the 11th hour, the application was noticed, the application is here. And the very last comment we had before closing the application was, I think it should be screened. And I understand why the member from the public did that, because he lives across the street, and I get it. But as I just described, it wasn't part of any discussion until the very last second before we would be voting. So that's the definition of the 11th hour. And you are correct.
Mr. Chairman, if you look at the GIS map, there is a row of highly matured trees that go along the full border of the mausoleum there. I know that they're not evergreen trees, mostly they're leaf trees, but I could talk to the applicant to get something hardier back there.
Yeah,
to buffer.
And I'm all for that. And between Commissioner Silber now and Commissioner Corey, let's get some input to Mr. Lebrandi, who will make the final decision with the applicant on what you think would be there. As long as that's palatable with you guys,
We have no problem with us softening the look and working with staff. Thank you.
Yeah, we're not trying to prevent trees. We automatically said Mr. Corey's was a good suggestion. And good thing we kept talking about it, because we all thought he was talking about the entryway inside the cemetery. And then he brought up the drive-by on Daniel's Farm. So now we know that we're going to capture that as well. So if, between the member of the public, Mr. Hunter, who asked, and your input, we can certainly add some more there if that's what the commission wants.
Oh yeah, that's good enough. That's good. I mean, I think, I drive by the mausoleum every day, and I do see that, and I think Mr. Hunter is right. You can see the top of it, which is fine. And it's aesthetically appealing now to my eye, but, and I'm sure it will continue to be. So I don't have a major problem with the way it looks right now. But I just think it's a reasonable thing to sort of discuss a softening, as Attorney Rizzio just said.
And I think that's exactly how we will word the amendment. How's that?
Perfect.
All right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Our process says for a commercial development, and this is a commercial development, there has to be landscape drawings that we have an opportunity to review and comment on. We do not have any landscape drawings as part of this package. I'm requesting that this applicant submit a landscape drawing, and then we can discuss it. I don't want Mr. Corey or Mr. Silber to discuss it with Mr. Lebrandi. That's not how our process works.
Well, I can explain to you on probably dozens of applications now, since the tree warden's participation at the meeting level has stepped back to an overview in combination with the office, that we have multiple times at the end of a presentation said that the final landscape edits will be under the authority of the town planner, and it has worked out very well. And I understand your comment, and I don't know that the rest of the commission supports that, but we will discuss it for right now. And one of the things that was discussed is there's not necessarily a requirement for a separate landscape plan itself. The landscaping is on the plan. It was a little sparse for Mr. Corey's liking, and he wanted to add to it. Somebody from the public also wanted to add to it, and Mr. Silber chimed in, strengthening that point that they'd like to add to it. And it is absolutely part of the process that we've already undertaken and will continue to take this evening, unless 3 commissioners side with yourself that you'd like to stop the application for a separate piece of paper, because we've reviewed the landscaping plan. We've had comment to enhance it. We've had comment from the public, supported by a commissioner, all incorporated and agreed to by the applicant, and that's what we're moving forward on. I understand your position that there's not a separate piece of paper, but it is incorrect to say there wasn't a plan. It was there. It just was not completely robust.
So if the applicant could please tell me what drawing number I can look at that states the
Sheet
landscape.
A101. Sheet A101.
I'm looking at that sheet and it doesn't spell out exactly what type of trees we're talking about. So it's incomplete.
Well, I wouldn't call it
I was
incomplete.
looking at, to be honest with you, I was looking at what the member of the public said, evergreens.
So, Mr. D'Aquila, if you'd like to make any type of motion to see if any of the commissioners are in support of it, please feel free. Otherwise, we're going to move on to,
Well, that'll occur during the deliberation. However, if we're deviating from the process and our regulations do not allow that deviation, then we have a problem. We have a problem as a commission.
okay, your synopsis is incorrect, both according to the regulations and the form that we have. So Mr. Cordone, you are going to have to weigh in at this point to tell Mr. D'Aquila, who seems to be making a grandstand here for some reason, what exactly we have done, what occurred this evening compared to what should have been done, and where we are going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the point at this stage is that there may be a disagreement as to whether there's a landscaping plan here or not. The applicant is representing that there is one presented as part of the plan, and the commission can then add as a condition of approval that town staff would make sure that that plan has details sufficient to satisfy town staff, which is a condition we have made many times on many applications. If commissioners disagree with that, then they don't have to vote for the application. They can present an amendment to the contrary, which Mr. Chairman has stated is the case. Is that helpful, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions on any other points before we proceed? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
I'd make a motion to close the hearing.
Mr. LeConte, a second. Mr. Corey is seconding. All those in favor to close the hearing? Aye. Mr.
Aye.
Corey, LeConte, Mr. Silber, Mr. D'Aquila, your vote to close the hearing?
No.
No. Okay, so it's 4-1. Hearing's closed. Okay, at this time, I will take a motion to approve that has a condition attached that the applicant will work with the town planner, excuse me. That was pretty good, huh? to work with the town planner to add trees in the front and the rear of some flowering condition. And also Commissioner Corey will have some input with the town planner. And final authority to approve the landscape plan will rest with the town planner, and the applicant will agree to it. The applicant will also provide the drainage plan that shows that they are in compliance with the town regulations. I will take a motion.
I make the motion. Of what you
Okay,
said.
Mr. LeConte makes that motion. Is there a second? Mr. Corey. Okay, discussion.
I just have one observation, and maybe it's to strengthen the direction to Mr. Lebrandi. Like, for example, we want 2 evergreens and 2 fruit trees, or something along those lines, rather than just.
Absolutely. Mr. Silber and Mr. Corey have direct input to Mr. Lebrandi.
Is that the same as sign-off approval?
No, Mr. Lebrandi will have the sign-off approval on the final plan. Any inputs to what you like, I'm sure Mr. Lebrandi is going to make every effort in working with the applicant to appease the commission. And if any babies have to be sliced, he'll make the difficult decision. But I'm sure, I don't think anybody's in left field yet. Well, maybe I'll strike that and not say that. So, but anyway, I don't think that will be so far off base that it can't be worked out. The applicant is said during the meeting that they are in favor of working with the town and increasing the trees, and it has gotten deeper and deeper. So I don't think they are, I think they are going to be in full compliance with whatever we ask. And Mr. Silver, I think whatever contributions you want to make to that will be well received.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing no other discussion on the motion, then I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion that includes the amendments as stated, signify by saying aye. I'm going to do roll call. Mr. Corey.
Aye.
Mr. Silber.
Aye.
Mr. LeConte.
Aye.
Mr. DeQuilla.
No.
Mr. Garrity votes yes, 4-1. Thank you, and thank you to the church for enhancing the cemetery and the afterlife for those folks who choose to be there.
Thank you very much, folks. I really appreciate your time and your effort in putting this together by Zoom.
Okay.
I hope to see you again next month.
Yeah, so we are going to move on to our next items, which are now the 824 referrals. And we are just doing 1, right? And number 1 and 3. 1 and 3, that's right. Linda, 1 and 3? Okay. So 824 referral. So for the commissioners, I just like to do the refresher. On the 820 referral, the Planning and Zoning Commission's role is to recommend or not recommend. The 824 referrals refer to when the town is going to make an enhancement or purchase or anything to property that the town already owns or is about to own. And when we make those referrals, they're non-binding except for the fact when it gets to town council, who have the final authority on town purchases and building and enhancements, it just has implication on the number of votes required. So I will read number 1, municipal improvements referral. CGS 824, report to the town council regarding a purchase by the town easements for the construction and maintenance of a sidewalk and to install and maintain traffic devices and appurtenances. Okay, somebody help me with that. I've never seen that word in my life. Appurtenances along the Long Hill section of Main Street, Trumbull, Connecticut. So what I'm going to do right now is ask Mr. Marr to give us an explanation after he pronounces that word for me.
Oh, you did a better job than I'm going to do, so I'm going to let that one go. Prudences.
I've been appurtenances.
Yes.
Okay, what do we have here, Bill?
What we have is we have a grant for constructing a sidewalk on Main Street, basically from Gisella up to the Whitney Avenue intersection on Main Street. It requires us to purchase purchase or negotiate the purchase of, or
That would be down, right? You're heading down towards Mex on Main?
you're heading down towards Mex on Main
So
from
when you
Gisela.
said up, I'm going towards 25 in my head.
Yeah,
Down.
I'm looking
From
at the plan
Gisela
going to the left.
down to Whitney. Okay.
It's on the west side of Main. So it's on the Governor's Ridge side of Main Street.
And it's only for one side.
It's only for one side.
Okay. And the town needs to purchase some of those easements from the property owners.
That's correct. There's 4 property owners, well, 5 property owners. One on the corner of Gisela and Main
And it's already established grant money.
is already established grant money.
Okay, that's good. Are there any questions from commissioners?
How wide is the easement?
It varies. The easements all vary because it's not a consistent width. The sidewalk is 5 feet wide, but some of the easements only 250 square feet. Some of them are larger, depending on the location.
So that building right across from Long Hill Green has a very wide shoulder on the west side. I presume, is that going to be part of what you're talking about? Right next to the vet.
Right next to the vet, yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's the real estate office there on the corner. It is 6575 Main Street.
Yeah, I mean, I know the general area. There's the vet, there's the old Paul's Barber Shop that's not there anymore, and then
Yeah.
there's that office building.
There's no easement on the office building. It's only on 6575 Main. And the Trumbull, the apartments that are in the back there. And the vet, and then also the corner property on Main Street and Governor's Way. There's a small easement on Governor's Way.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Silver?
No.
Any questions from commissioners on this particular 824? Mr.
So-
Court?
So, just so I understand, so if someone was walking down Gisela, they no longer have to walk on Main Street, that grass that's always overgrown there will now be a sidewalk right up to Whitney?
That's correct.
Okay. There's one property that kind of has, I don't know if you ever walked it, there's like a guardrail that sort of where the river is. How's that gonna work?
We're actually extending the culvert there and then moving
Oh.
the guardrail over.
That's beautiful. And then there's one property that sort of has like a big clump of, some of that property right next to it, you can't really get through without walking on the road. Is nothing with that one?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Well, it's right after you go by that guardrail. After you go by the guardrail, is that the,
Yeah, it is the,
I guess the question is it gonna be continuous straight up? Is it gonna be easy walk right up to the corner, or are you gonna have some jogs?
no, it's going to be straight up to the corner.
Okay,
It's straight
that's
up
all I
to-
have.
There's actually a traffic signal that's going in, and
Okay.
there's going to be a crosswalk there.
Okay, great, that's perfect.
Another
That's
quick
gonna be a
one
great improvement to
through
the
the chair,
town.
please.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Mr. Silver.
Yeah, just, Bill, is it connecting to a sidewalk below the green? In other words, is it going to go all the way down to Stonehouse? Or is there a
No,
sidewalk there? I can't remember.
You hit
There-
sidewalks, once you get past there are sidewalks.
Yeah, I believe there's an existing sidewalk there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
You just have to get up to that corner, then you got sidewalks all the way.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question. If that's a state road, how come do we need easements?
Because the state right of way isn't wide enough for the sidewalk. Has to go into private property.
Oh, okay. I thought the state always took more than they needed.
Not in this case.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, this is not one that we have the choice, public input. It's just a referral, and that happens at town council. So at this time, I would take a motion to recommend.
Motion to recommend.
Mr. LaConte, second. Mr. Silber? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor to recommend by name, Mr. Corey? Yes. Mr.
Yes.
LaConte?
Aye.
Mr. Silber?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Yes. And Mr. Garrity is yes. That's 5. Thank you. That was easy. So number 3, municipal improvement referral, CGS 824, report to the town council regarding a purchase by the town easements for the construction and maintenance of a sidewalk and to install and maintain traffic device apertures along Route 111, Trumbull, Connecticut. Mr. Mauer.
This is another grant that we have for improvements on 111, the traffic light at the shopping mall, the shopping plaza there on 111. It includes an extension of the trail to make a crossing at the traffic light to make a safer crossing. Easements are needed for building a retaining wall on the east side of Road Turnpike. At that section there, the trail is actually 10 feet wide because it's a part of a trail. Then there's also improvements that need to be made at the plaza itself to the entrance, and also on the exit from Woodside Village.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners on this project? Mr. Silver.
Woodland Hills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Bill, I mean, it's on the Old Mine Road side, right?
Yes,
And it will go up to the traffic light by the intersection at the old Chips,
that's
Prime
correct.
111.
Yeah.
And it looks like from one of these plans that that field that's right along 111 on the Prime 111 side is a big piece of that easement. There's
That
a
green
field.
section, the green
What?
section, the green
Yeah.
section,
Yeah.
there's a entrance that has to be reworked in order to make it safer for queuing. So that's part of the grant.
So so they're moving the entrance to that shopping center, moving it basically south, if I understand.
Well, they're not moving the entrance. What they're doing is actually one of the entrances to the area that goes over to Prime 111. As it exists right now, if you pull right in, it's too close to the road. And what could happen is you could get people coming out that way and somebody turning in really quick. So to make it safer, we're blocking off that portion of the parking lot and then reallocating the parking. There's no loss of parking spaces, it's just reconfigured.
Is there a loss of green space there? I can't really tell. So if you go to the upper right there, what are those 2 buildings we're looking at?
The far one's the old Chips, and
Okay,
then the next one is the Prime 111 building.
got it. And the entrance, I'm a little confused about what's going on where.
That's a temporary construction easement, just so that we can rework that. That's not a permanent easement.
At any rate, we need a reworking of that entrance, that's for sure,
Yes.
and that parking lot. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other question? Okay, hearing
Yes,
none.
Mr. Chairman.
Somebody say something?
Bill, on your drawing E2,
Yeah.
on the exit roadway from the condominiums, why is that easement needed?
It's a construction easement to redo the entrance.
But it says 2 types of easements, proposed easement and a proposed construction easement. Are they one and the same?
One is because some of it is within the right of way where that, hang on a minute, I need to zoom in.
The proposed easement number 2 points to a section, I guess, on that esplanade. I guess it's an esplanade.
Well, one is a construction easement, one is a easement to, that's a good question. I'm not exactly, it's basically a construction easement to rework that entrance, and it will go away after the work is done.
Isn't that private road? Doesn't that belong to the condominiums?
Yes, it does.
But why
That's
do
what
we
you
have,
need.
why does the town have to do anything?
It's because because to help the traffic flow out of the condominium, right now it's currently only a right-hand turn only. And this will make it a left and a right, because now there's a signalized intersection that would accommodate this.
There's going to be, it'll be signalized intersection there?
No, it's a signalized intersection at the Chips parking lot, which was
Okay.
not,
So you're now allowing them to make a left-hand turn
yes.
to go across,
It has to go to, the state has to approve it.
It's not us, it's the state traffic authority. We'll do that
That's
after
correct.
the construction and after the light is installed. Any adjustments are the same reason adjustments are being made to Chip's parking lot, because the construction of the sidewalk requires manipulation of the entrances and exits, and some of which includes manipulation of the interior of the parking lot or the private roads that are next to it. Are there any
Okay.
other questions?
I guess I'm confused, but, okay, you can go forward.
Thank you. Any other questions from any other commissioners? Okay, hearing none, and as we said, town council has the final authority here. I will take a motion to recommend.
Motion to recommend.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Silver. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor to recommend, Tony Curry?
Yes.
Yes. Tony DeQuilla?
Abstain.
And the reason you're abstaining, you have to state your reason for abstention.
I do.
Yes, you do. It's a rule.
Okay, which rule is this?
Mr. Cordone? Mr. Cordone?
Mr. Garrity. Mr. DeQuilla, do you have a reason for abstaining that you want to put on the record? Not sufficient information at this time?
Not sufficient information at this time.
Thank you, Mr. DeQuilla.
Thank you.
Mr. Conti? LeConte? Yes, that's a yes?
Yes.
Mr. Silver?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity is yes. That's 4-0 and 1 abstention. Okay, at this time we will go to the bond releases. Number 1, Angelina and Bob Kilman request to release a full bond for 54 Teller Road, file 2-18. Is there a report?
No, Mr. Chairman, this is more of a, these 3 bond releases were for old subdivisions, probably in the early to mid 90s. We're just doing some house cleaning. They were just to,
So your overreaching statement is all 3 bonds have cleared their necessary hurdles and should be released?
yes.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion on file 218? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the release of bond number 1.
Motion made.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Curry. Okay. All those in favor of the bond release, aye. Mr. Curry,
Aye.
Mr. DeQuilla,
Yes.
Mr. LeConte,
Aye.
Mr. Silver,
Aye.
and Mr. Garrity is yes. That's 5. Number 2, Eleanor Geddes requests release of full bond for 48 Teller Road. We've heard the explanation. I'll take a motion.
Motion made.
Motion to approve, Mr. LeConte. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Silver. All those in favor, Mr. Curry,
Aye.
Mr. DeQuilla,
Yes.
Mr. LeConte,
Yes.
Mr. Silver,
Yes.
Mr. Garrity is yes. That's 5. Number 3, Armando Costa requests release of full bond for 40 Academy Road, file 218. I'll take a motion.
Motion made.
for approval, Mr. LeConte. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Corey. All those in favor of the release of the bond? Mr. Corey, say
Favor.
something. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. D'Aquila,
Yes.
Mr. LeConte,
Aye.
Mr. Silver,
Yes.
and Mr. Garrity is yes. So at this time, so the members of the public understand, the regular meeting is ending. The commission is going to go into executive session, and the executive session will contain discussion items from a previous application that myself and Mr. LeConte, Commissioner LeConte, recused ourselves from. So we will be doing that. Excuse me. We will be recusing ourselves now. And then at the end of the executive session, Mr. Silber, the vice chair, will come back into session and close the meeting. So at this time, Mr. LeConte is already gone, and I will chime out. Thank you, gentlemen, for everything you did tonight. Good luck with the rest of the evening, and we will talk to everybody soon.
And I also found the record that I am recusing myself as well as I did in prior applications.
Right, and Attorney Nugent will be taking over for Mr. Cordone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
everyone.
Attorney Nugent, the info.
And I am out of here. Thank you, Mr. Silber. Take it easy.
Take it easy. Thanks, Fred.
I'll double check that, Rob.
Do we, Bill Chin, do we need to sign off this meeting and go on the other one?
Yes, so I sent out earlier at around 7 o'clock the meeting invitation.
All right, I'm logging off. I'll see everybody in a minute. We are officially out of executive session. We went into executive session to discuss pending litigation at 8:30, and we exited executive session at 8:44. And at this point, we're going to vote on settlement of litigation concerning the Moorfield Farms approval from last year. And we'll just go, I guess we'll take a motion to, approve for discussion purposes. Actually, no discussion.
I'm open to approve the settlement.
The settlement. Thank you, Attorney Nugent. Motion by Commissioner Corey, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Prush. We will have a voice vote. We'll start with Commissioner Prush.
Discussion, could I have a discussion, please?
No, it's.
The motion is very vague and ambiguous. Can we not say we are reducing the bond from 175,000 to 65,000?
No.
I don't think we can do that. We can't be discussing this now in the
That's why
public
we went
meeting.
into
We can
executive
vote in the
session.
public meeting. But I think that's why we went into executive session.
I'm questioning the motion
merits.
that is on the table, and it's vague and ambiguous. We have to say
Then you
exactly
can
what.
vote no, or
No,
you
no,
can
no, no, no.
abstain. But the discussion takes place in executive session. The
We're not
vote takes
discussing
place
it.
in the public, at the public meeting.
The record says 175,000 was the bond. The new bond is 65,000. We need those numbers as part of the motion. Otherwise, it's vague and ambiguous, and it's.
You don't need them. I don't think it's improper to include them, but you don't need them. You could vote that you're reducing the bond, but I don't think it's fatal to include the numbers. But I don't think it's essential either.
Well, we have a motion and a second as it stands without the numbers. And the attorney is advising us that it's not essential, so we are going to proceed with that vote.
I would just amend the motion to indicate that you are reducing the bond
Fair.
from 175.
Linda, do you have that? All right. Now please have a voice vote, and we'll start with Commissioner Prush.
Okay, I vote yes. on the
Commissioner
motion.
Corey.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner D'Aquila.
Are we voting on the amendment, or are we voting on the?
No, we already had a motion to approve the,
The attorney says we're reducing he amended it. I don't know how he can amend it, but is it amended to say we're reducing the bond?
yes, I asked Linda to reflect that in the motion.
No. There was a motion and it was amended. You had to vote on the amendment.
You
We
can
can,
just
we can,
recite the motion, that's all.
okay, the motion is to reduce the bond as recommended by Attorney Nugent.
Do you want me to withdraw my motion and make
Yes,
a new
please.
motion?
We'll start, we'll
I'd like
start
to
from
withdraw
scratch.
my original motion to approve the settlement, to make a new motion
To
to
reduce the
approve the
bond.
settlement, which is a bond reduction from the original bond. Is that
As
correct?
recommended by the
Mr.
town attorney.
That's correct.
Recommended by the town attorney.
That's
Reduce the
correct.
landscape bond from the original bond as recommended by the town attorney. I make that motion.
I second the motion.
Now let's do a vote, starting with Commissioner Prush.
Okay, I vote yes to the motion.
Commissioner Corey,
Yes.
Commissioner D'Aquila,
Abstain.
Commissioner Silber, yes. So it passes 3-1. Okay, and I think that concludes everything. Hearing no other business before the board.
Commissioner Silber, it's 3-0. Since it's been
Oh,
abstained.
all right, 3-0-1, that's right, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Lebrandi. Okay, so, and we can just adjourn the meeting, right? We don't need to vote on that.
It's just a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to
To
adjourn.
adjourn. Okay.
Motion by
I'll
Commissioner
second.
Corey, second by Commissioner Prush. Roll call vote, starting with Commissioner Prush.
I vote yes.
Commissioner Corey,
Yes.
Commissioner D'Aquila,
Definitely yes.
Commissioner Silver, that's a yes as well. So that's a 4-0. And we are adjourned. We'll see you.
Hey, we
folks
got a
next month.
united vote.